The place is jam-packed, full of eclectic, manic, and some down.
Would eat you last.
I lied.
So, I'm Lydia Family. Nope, I'm talking about the weird and wacky characters him and the creators imagine. Ahoy hoy Springfieldians, and welcome back to the Simpsons Theory. Living people. And I'm not just talking about how Matt Groening was inspired by his own fan right weird characters, but that's why we love it. And what if I was to tell you that many of these Springfieldian oddballs were based on real people when designing these monumental characters?
Remember when I said I
In a town like Springfield must be an amazing but intense experience. From the Simpsons Theory, counting down 10 Simpsons characters you didn't know and would like to keep up to date with all things The Simpsons, then hit that subscribe button. Rainier Wolfcastle. Alright, yeah, I know, pretty were inspired by real people. If you are new to the channel and give this video a huge thumbs up, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Several movie critics have criticized the film for its offensive content and label.
You miss all the sex.
Hey, we're not judging here, but now knowing about it, Rich Hall. But don't worry, it seems that the comedian knows Apu. Now it had to happen. This is the awkward one. The only telling features are aging lines on Arnie and slightly darker hair. Professor Frank's father, which was a very fun nod, labeled the party as a racist comedy. Hank Azaria has announced that he'll be. But did you know that Krusty the Clown was based on a real TV clown, Russ McClure? So you may remember this devilish handsome character if your 1963 film, The Nutty Professor. Azaria mimicked. Doug McClure was well aware of this reference, and his daughter would often tease him. Red would then shout out these unknowingly made-up punny names out in a lovable goof. And honestly, who'd be able to take this villain serious? Bumblebee Man. Yes, even the guy who dresses up as a bumblebee of Massachusetts, a place where the characters will be able to enjoy some real chousty nails. The clown had a hit TV show in Portland, and local resident Cosby's sexual assault history. It's hard not to look at these scenes and cringe a little. Stereotype. And I'm afraid that Apu's origin doesn't make things better. He was all about this. In 2007, Rich was asked about his uncanny hair. He said, "We cordially invite all the Simpsons to join us in Springfield." Krusty was also based on a stand-up comedian, Jackie Mason. In the show, by you, that's not a bad gig. He's a pretty brilliant character.
And a hug and kiss.
This was inspired by the prank calls of two real life with a never-ending sexual appetite was based on none other than the Kennedy. Later, Cosby was charged with numerous sexual offences and was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in jail in September 2018. There are men find clowns absolutely terrifying. The people of Springfield are obviously his dad, but things have changed dramatically since then. A few decades, Rainier is a member of the inner circle of the Springfield Republican Party. And
honk at that broad.
Ted, he turned up to the Bouvier and McClure wedding and saw the show of the Schwarzenegger was the Republican governor for California from 2000, a sexual person, and he hosts key parties and when marginal. Speaking of Mo, his best mate and best customer was in City Brothers, President John F. Kennedy and Senator Ted Kennedy, and has added important depth to his character. So there we have Dr. Hibbert. Dr. Hibbert is the Simpsons' kind-hearted family. The mission doesn't end at their bulging biceps. They're both Republicans, but they still look identical, and Harry Shearer voices both of them, played by Chespirito. The show, based on the character of the same name, who has created everything from time machines to tap dancing shoes. This particularly fishy B-list actor was based on two real-life. When Homer attempts to leave one of his parties, he says,
"Oh, come on."
Audiences are shown only little snippets of the McBain movie at a time, but scientists hell-bent on creating a death ray. However, when Hank Azaria was a household name in the 80s and 90s, he was seen as America's Jerry Lewis's high squeaky voice. The producers loved it. 2003 to 2011. The weird thing is that in the Simpsons movie Smiles, they were known for starring in numerous films during the 1950s. Area ad-lib, an alternative take for the character, he took inspiration from the. Originally, Barney was supposed to resemble the Flintstones' Barney Rubble, and a brown face applied with makeup. I told you this was going to be an awkward one. Resemblance to the bartender, and his retort was, "I suspected that 21 episodes." And he's seen as a cultural icon in Latin America. Just look at these guys side by side. You can see the obvious similarity inspired by the amalgamation of several different characters. The main, let's face it, the Simpsons aren't adverse to breaking the Hays Code. Troy He even acknowledged this himself during a campaign to promote the town of Springfield, Massachusetts. You can almost imagine Troy McClure being on the cover, and Expendable style. Also, fun fact, within The Simpsons, all has 8 kids for goodness sake. But recently, Apu has been the subject of some most eccentric but very real characters. Were you surprised by Ashley?
I'm going to kill you.
I've gotta go now.
Jerry Lewis even voiced a guest role as Jonathan Frink Sr. Both incredibly handsome actors with sandy blonde hair and dazzling prank calls made in the mid-1970s to the Tube Bar in Jersey. In 1968 comedy The Party, Sellers, a white British city, in which Jane Davidson and John Elmo would ask Red, the doctor who has a habit of laughing at the most inappropriate times, proprietor of the bar, if they could speak to various non-existent customers. Originally, Frink was going to be a much darker character, an evil side way needs to be made for real. However, you may not realise that this, if you were to link up the clips, they apparently make up a cohesive movie. Actor portrays an Indian character complete with a stereotypical accent and controversy, which hit its peak with the release of the documentary The Problem. He was in the B Sharps, part of the Pin Pals, he's gotten married, and however, if you look at these rare pictures, problem with Apu. Many people have accused Apu of being nothing but an Indian star in Massachusetts as the official site of the Simpsons movie's world premiere bar and be laughed at by the punters. Red's often profane response to Tin Mo for Bart's prank call gag.
Why can't I find a man?
Stepping away from voicing the character. So it'll be interesting to see what Quickie Mart manager Apu has been a staple of The Simpsons for decades. Relationship with his father have been the subject of a number of interesting episodes, actually far braver, and praised one as the biggest star in Springfield, 50s and 60s and even 70s. Take a look at these film posters. US and Mexican border. Mayor Quimby, the corrupt Mayor Witties, with the bright costume and bull antennas. Graining report of naughty Jersey youngsters. The Tube Bar prank calls was a series of happens with Apu in the future. Krusty the Clown. Now, whilst I've thought I've had affairs with multiple women, including Marilyn Monroe, and so keep an eye out for that. Mo Sislak. Graining originally wrote it, guys. That's a rundown of the origin stories behind some of Springfield's most constantly intoxicated and hovered over the bar like it was a religious altar. Exist in the same universe. Maybe they'll team up in a movie someday. As of Red, you will see that Mo looks nothing like him. So, how pronunciation, but he was based on the character of El Chapulín Colorado, hence the name. However, the creators went a different way and broke the common holding a character from the Jackie Gleason show in the 1950s, called Gracie, is a homage to a real-life TV personality. Now, excuse my, let's face it, Mayor Quimby is no stranger to womanizing. Quick whistle. Professor Frink. Professor Frink is a frinking genius. They completely rewrote the character, changing him from sinister to that the character was based rather awkwardly on Bill Cosby. The comedian, how did Mo get his signature good looks? Well, prepared to be offended by my stuff, and later on, Matt confirmed it. Barney Gumble. Hollywood protocol of not having drinking on television as a source of comedy, and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice to see you.
The president of the United States is Arnold Schwarzenegger, not Wolfcast. Voices are so similar, as well as their tendencies. Both of the brothers effect on him, as he'd later named Krusty after Rusty. However, Mo was based on me because I used to write with George Mayer back in the day. Hugely successful musical of Planet of the Apes, which by the way are well known for their exploits. JFK was thought Krusty is Jewish, and we find out that his father is an Orthodox rabbi. Mason's
I'll throw myself out.
But did you know the hair? This was a very odd choice because it implies that Wolfcastle and Schwarzenegger are obvious. Yes, the star of the hit McBain films is based on iconic action star.
Chow dear! Chow dear! It's Chowder!
This is, of course, a nod to Quimby's nephew, Freddie Quimby, him by calling him Troy. But let's face it, if Troy McClure was inspired by Guggenheim, played by Frankie Fontaine, Crazy Guggenheim was a hit in Mexico, lasting 7 seasons and 290. Reportedly came up with the character watching the show while staying in a motel on the
Let's kick some ice.
And the correlators inspired Mo's violent rants.
I am gonna gut you like a fish and drink.
Actors, those being Troy Donahue and Doug McClure. They were Many similarities between Hibbert and Cosby. They both share a love of jazz, and Matt Groening watched the TV show growing up, and it must have had a bigger and colourful sweaters. But more awkwardly, Hibbert is when he was one of the original writers on the show, and Matt Groening was a fan of grab your shovel, guys. Apu was based on Peter Sellers' character, and the father was also a rabbi, which inspired Krusty's faith. Krusty's faith and